Did you know that 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by February? In this episode, we're going to explore why that's the case and what you can do to reach your goals. Welcome back to the Workflow podcast for the very first episode of 2022. And today we're going to talk about why resolutions fail. And why they fail is because people fail to account for all of the things, all of the friction that got between them and their goals. As James Clear, author of the best-selling book Atomic Habits, puts it, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. So let's take a couple of examples. Say I want to stop eating junk food late at night when I'm parked out on my couch. Well, I could try and use willpower, but the reality is by that point in the evening, I'm probably exhausted and I don't have much willpower left. So if I have a big old bag of Doritos in the cupboard, I'm probably going to make my way over there at some point and devour that bag. So what might a system look like in that case? Well, rather than using willpower, what I should do in that case is to just not buy that bag of Doritos, not have it in my house, because that creates friction. And that friction, in this case, comes in the form of having to jump in my car, drive down to the grocery store, buy some Doritos, take them home. I'm much less likely to do that. Now, if I was super desperate, I might, but I'm much less likely to do that because I've got a system in place that makes it harder to eat those Doritos. Similarly, if I want to use my phone less, I could look at what are the things, how can I introduce some friction to use my phone less? If I'm trying to read a book, do some work, watch a film, socialize, well, I could have my phone somewhere else, in another room perhaps, so it's not within arm's reach. I could also try turning off my notifications and perhaps removing some apps that are consuming too much of my time. Perhaps those apps can only be viewed when I'm at my desktop. So we're creating systems in order to get to the value, to get to the behaviors that we want. And this all comes back to adding friction and removing friction. So if there are bad habits that we have that we don't want to continue doing, that we want to get rid of, we want to add some friction to our lives. So for example, if we already gave that example around the Doritos, but if there is something that I want to do more of, we need to remove friction. So if I want to exercise more, but I haven't got time in the day to commute to the gym and back, well then I should perhaps invest in a simple barbell or dumbbell or kettlebell that I keep by my bed. And perhaps in the morning I can do 5 to 10 minutes and in the evening I can do 5 to 10 minutes. I no longer need to commute to the gym, but I'm still committing to doing that exercise. So identifying what the blocker is, what the friction is, and removing that is going to make it much easier for you to get to your goals. And this is essentially grounded in physics, Newtonian physics, Isaac Newton's laws of nature. He found that when you remove friction, for example, let's take it back. If I'm rolling a ball across a table, but that table is really jagged, has a lot of stuff on it, the ball's probably not even going to make it halfway before it stops. But if that's like a really slick, oiled up, steel top table, really smooth, the ball's going to slide all the way across and land on the floor. So think of yourself as that ball, think of the other side of the table as your goal, and think about everything that happens in the middle as either the friction or the lack of it. Because so often, when people make these resolutions, they do so with the optimism bias in mind, thinking that, seeing the future through rose-colored glasses. Yeah, I'll start that diet tomorrow. I'll start exercising tomorrow. Then tomorrow comes and we've still got all the same friction in our lives, whether it's mental friction, environmental friction, whether it's work, money, whatever the case is, that's stopping us from committing to that activity. And so we want to ensure that whatever has stopped us from certain behaviors in the past is addressed and that we create systems to get us around those behaviors. Otherwise, if we fall back to relying on willpower, we might do so for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, but like 80% of people find ourselves giving up by February. With that, I'm going to bring this episode of the Workflow podcast to a close. If you enjoyed this, take a moment to like, share, or subscribe, do all that good stuff. And if you want to consume more content like this, head over to steveglaveski.com. Peace out.